Welcome back to our first of a kind. This is a live Facebook event celebrating the 75th birthday. It's the anniversary of Harry Chapin's birth, and there's so much to celebrate about his life. And we've got two people who are going to be joining us shortly who know so much about it and have been so instrumental in the works of Harry Chapin. But first, I want to remind you that we have a challenge on the line. The first $5,000 raised on behalf of the Harry Chapin Foundation matched dollar for dollar. So double the impact of your dollars right now by making certain that you get to us. And you can get to us at betterplacetobe.org. And you can find there all the thank you gifts and all the ways that we can really reach back to you and say we are so grateful that you're participating today. Also, with the guests that we have upcoming, and wait till you see who they are, you are going to want to talk to them. So let me give you some of the specifics as to how you can do that. First, you enter last 4 digits of your phone number in the Facebook comments. Then you dial 646-558-8656, and then enter the code 716-793-376 and hit pound for the password. Number of people have already done it. It's not that hard, and we really do connect you to all that's going on live here on Facebook. And now I want to introduce you, Ken Kragen, one of Harry Chapin's managers. It seems impossible to say that anybody could have managed Harry, but this gentleman has survived to tell us stories. And then, of course, the legendary, the elegant Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte, what an honor to have you on with us today.
I'm very happy to be here, especially celebrating Harry Chapin. I had a chance to talk to Ken Kragen again.
Oh, wonderful. And of course, you hosted the tribute to Harry Chapin 30 years ago to the day, and we then made it into a PBS special. What an honor. Well, let me go back to you, Ken. You know, you have said so many times that Harry Chapin's voice would be ringing in your ears as you were embarking on so many other efforts to deal with hunger and issues of social conscience. Tell us how you first got to know Harry and what your relationship has been over the years.
I was working for a manager named Jerry Weintraub, who unfortunately passed away now, but a very famous manager and movie producer. And he signed Harry and assigned me in his office to manage Harry, to do all the day-to-day stuff with Harry. And I flew to Canada, I think it was Calgary, and met him, and literally could not keep up walking with him on the street. Harry lived his life at a pace which I don't think any of us could keep up with. And it was amazing to me, and it was my first experience with him, and I was absolutely taken with the charisma of this man, the drive, and he's the one who taught me about the issues, the hunger and homeless issues, poverty issues. He devoted most of his life to that, and inspired me. And one other quick thing about that, after we did We Are the World, which Harry inspired, and Harry called me and launched that, and then I put it together with a lot of help from a lot of people. I was in New York looking at the Life magazine spread, the pictures that they had done on that. And I was in a car going from that meeting to another one, and I swear, and I don't normally believe in these things, Harry Chapin literally had crawled up inside of me and was orchestrating everything. And from there to Hands Across America to all of the various work that I've done over the years, I've always felt Harry's presence.
You know, I don't like to get into what-if history, but I could imagine, and we were talking about the Senate before we went on today, that Harry Chapin, and there were rumblings that he was going to run for office, that he would have, had he wanted to, and you talked about his charisma, been a major political figure in this country, if that was his desire. And he used to say, well, all the music critics want me to do more politics, and all the politicians want me to do more music. What would you say to that, Ken?
Well, I just immediately I think of the story that Senator Patrick Leahy tells about going to Washington when Carter was signing the instructions to set up a committee on poverty and poverty issues. And as he's signing what Harry had been working for a couple of years, Harry is still hustling him about it and pushing him. And the lady had to tap Harry on the shoulder and say, Harry, listen, he's signing it. You don't need to push anymore. And the other part of that particular visit is Harry split his pants as he walked into the White House. And he kept against the wall everywhere he could go because the back of his pants was split open. And that's the other story that Leahy tells about him. But those are, I don't know how he would have done as a politician, but I know what his experience in the White House was.
Okay, he couldn't take yes for an answer. Harry Belafonte, you have been involved in so many incredible causes, predating even what we're talking about. I mean, you are no stranger to social justice, civil rights. Put Harry Chapin in some category for us, given your perspective.
Well, it was not easy. It has never been easy to find artists who have high profile, ready and willing to jump into any problematic or any controversial campaign. But Harry was not one of those. He always sided with the underdog. He always looked at life through a set of spectacles that said, here's something that needs to be done, and I'll do it. Outside of his art and the kind of music that he and his family did, Harry Chapin touched me very deeply because he never flinched from any commitment to social change that was worthy of paying attention to. And his activism really impressed me because there were very few people of his level willing to become very active and to be identified with causes. The real payoff for me was that when we were looking for what to do with the famine and the hunger in the world at large, not only was he someone that we could turn to, but I realized that the people who worked with him and were in his world were the most equipped and the most knowledgeable on a lot of social issues, and therefore picking Ken Kragen as someone to target to help put together the We Are the World campaign and Hands Across America and any number of other things that Ken has done was an easy call because he'd been well prepared for the job by Ken Kragen, by Harry Chapin rather. And when I called Ken.
Okay, I think we have a little difficulty with Harry Belafonte's feed. Ken Kragen, if we can get you back into this, take us back to 1986, 5 years after Harry Chapin had died, and you were there at the American Music Awards with Harry Belafonte, and some of the things that Harry...
I didn't have much to do.
Were we there? Okay, Harry, we have you back again.
One of the more rewarding things that have happened to me, and many things that's happened in my life, was to get to know the Harry Chapin world. And the principal force in that world was Ken Kragen. And I don't think, with all of his energy and with all of his tenaciousness, a better choice could have been made than Ken to really kind of model and give direction and dimension to the We Are the World campaign. And I think had it not been for Harry Chapin, many of the things that fell in place that worked so well for the We Are the World and Hands Across America campaign was what Ken Kragen brought to the table. I'm just sorry that Harry didn't live long enough to witness all of this and to become a bigger player. But there's no question that his presence in our world was a big motivation for putting this together. And I'm very, very grateful to Ken Kragen for making this look good.
Ken Kragen, take that compliment.
I'm very flattered by Harry's comments, but the reality is if it wasn't for Harry Chapin, Belafonte would have never called me. Harry would have, because as I remember it, Harry, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you went to Ron Delsner first, the promoter in New York, to talk to him about doing some kind of thing for starvation in Africa. And Delsner said, call Ken Kragen. He was Harry Chapin's manager. He manages a number of the big stars now, including Lionel Richie. And your call to me was really triggered because of the Chapin situation. And I'm, always indebted to that because it inspired so much in my life, and brought me together with you, who gosh, if I wasn't in awe of you before we went to Africa together, I certainly am, now and forever after that. It was just kind of an amazing experience for me, that to get to know you and to see you. I got to tell all of you, Harry Chapin in Africa is a god. I mean, when you travel with him through that continent, as I did, what you see is someone who is so revered, and he's revered for a good reason. I mean, we're here to talk about Chapin, but I just have to tell you that Belafonte's revered because he constantly put his life on the line during the independence of that continent and here on so many issues with Dr. King and others. And so I think that one of the great legacies of Harry Chapin for me was getting to know so well one of my real heroes, Chapin, Harry Belafonte.
And you know that in this business there are composers and people who really don't stay with it. And you're talking about Harry Belafonte and Harry Chapin, two guys who were true, authentic, and really committed to do the work.
And powerful forces in my life. Everything that's happened and the most significant things in my life, they played a major role in.
And take us back to 1986 and that American Music Awards and all the bouquets that were thrown at Harry Chapin at that time. And then take us forward, Harry Belafonte, too, join in on this, to 1987. And this wonderful tribute and the Congressional Gold Medal. Even though Harry was gone at that point, 1986 and 1987, his memory certainly was alive in the minds of so many in the music world. Ken Kragen, why don't you start?
Hey, I'll reach back here and show. Here's the Congressional Gold Medal. Just happens to be sitting on my counter there. There it is. There you go. See it closer. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Well, all those things were very deserved. All the attention paid to Harry for inspiring, the two Harrys. Harry's inspiring Harry. Was totally well earned. Although I was doing charity work in high school back in the 50s, I was never aware of the issues in not just Africa, but America. I mean, the issues that we addressed in 1984, 85, 86 were both abroad and here were very, very real, but I think Mr. Belafonte would confirm that they were covered up by the media. The media wasn't paying attention to them. In fact, my client Kenny Rogers formed the Hunger Awards for the very purpose of awarding media that would cover those issues. And but Harry can speak much more to that than I can. He really has. He's jumped in with both feet to those issues and done amazing things.
Mr. Belafonte,
what I'm forever rewarded by is the fact that in talking to Ken about the vastness of the idea and the scope of it, to talk about getting every major artist in the world to get together in a single destination or location and to perform a song and to find the right artist to write the song was a huge undertaking. And as a matter of fact, the bet on the street was that we wouldn't be able to pull it off. But not only with the kind of way in which Ken had framed the way in which we were to work, but the fact that everybody came with such a great sense of purpose, such a great sense of commitment, and each time we came against a challenge, everybody turned to Ken Kragen, and Ken always seemed to have the right answer at the right time. And not only was it the right answer at the right time, but it was always so clever and so smart. I think that the writers that we got to write the song, Michael Jackson, certainly, and we had three people all together, Ken.
Yeah, we had Michael and Lionel, of course, but for a short time we had Stevie Wonder, but he disappeared on us. He showed up at the recording session at Kenny Rogers' studio and said, "Let's write the song," and we were at that point recording the demos. The song was done, but in any event, that was one of the funnier moments. But I have to tell you, when those 45 artists got together, there were a couple of true icons: Ray Charles, Bob Dylan to some extent, and particularly Harry. And I think the only thing that Harry and I both would wish is that Harry Chapin could have been in that group, but his spirit was there and his legacy was there.
Absolutely.
And since we have two Harrys in our minds tonight, Harry Belafonte, Harry Chapin, for good reason, Ken, you helped to found the Harry Chapin Foundation along with Kenny Rogers and the Chapins. So we pair up the Kennys and the Harrys, and what a dynamic duos we put together here.
Yeah, and the work that the foundation has done and that Why Hunger continues to do are quite special. You know, I try to do everything I can to support both those organizations on a regular basis. And I think it's important that people who are watching this do the same. It's very, very important work. And those issues, unfortunately, I can testify firsthand, still exist tremendously today. I mean, just here in Los Angeles, where I live, the amount of homeless is quite overwhelming.
And by the way, Ken, we really appreciate you being with us today, given the fact that you see the fire across the freeway, and we know there are some tremulous moments for the people in the region, and we're all with you and praying that can all be suppressed at some point with as little damage as possible.
Yeah, it's pretty extreme here in Southern California at the moment with four or five different fires going at one time. It's a little scary. I'm sitting here with our cars in the driveway packed with a lot of stuff, including Harry, the We Are the World signed by all the artists, which I also have to thank you for. It was Harry at the recording session of We Are the World who said, "Let's sign our music." And everybody had a copy of the music, about 5 pages long, it's spread out. And they signed it, and it's my number one prized possession. Many people have tried to get me to sell it, and I wouldn't give it away, sell it, do anything with it. It'll be my daughter's when I pass on.
Ken Kragen, the musical legacy, because you were managing his musical career, what would you say about it, and how would we typify Harry's impact on future songwriters? What would you say?
Well, you know, most people know Harry's music because they know Cats in the Cradle, which has been performed now by many artists, and they know WOLD or Taxi, of course, Cats in the Cradle and Taxi being the two biggest hits. I don't know about Harry Belafonte, but my favorite song is There Only Was One Choice. It's a long, interesting song about how choosing music and choosing to do what's in your heart is the choice. And I listen to that over and over. I listen to Belafonte a lot. I listen to Chapin a lot. But that Chapin song, in fact, when my daughter got a boyfriend that she's fortunately still with 4 years ago, the first thing I did is sit him down and play him the Harry Chapin There Only Was One Choice track.
Really? I would throw my vote in behind that choice. It's a great song, and it covered the spirit of the needs of the time in which that song became very, very popular. Harry was one of the things I want to take note of was that for a long time in the beginning, we were talking about hunger and the world and whatnot. And both Ken and I kind of felt, at Ken's suggestion, that maybe we should go take a look at the target that we're carving out for ourselves and the things we want to do, because we didn't quite know all that there was to know about what was going on with hunger on the continent of Africa. We were seeing some pictures, getting some indication from what was going on in the British press, because the British were the first to kind of begin to introduce the world to this devastation that was taking place. But I think one of the great experiences of my going to Africa quite frequently was the trip that I took with Ken, because we went all over the place and took a look at in the Sudan, in Kenya, in many places that we went, and we was completely overwhelmed with the destruction and the devastation, the hundreds of thousands of graves and bodies that we saw everywhere. And we knew that from that moment on, Ken and I would be committed to one another in trying to make this thing go away. I don't think it'll ever go away, certainly not in our lifetime, but I think we should take great pride in that we maximized the good fortune in our lives to get into this and to make a huge difference. No campaign was ever as successful as We Are the World, and I'm forever grateful to have been a part of that with all my colleagues.
Thank you for using your artistry in such a profoundly important way. Harry Belafonte, what an honor to have you today, and how fitting that you're here as we celebrate the life of Harry Chapin, and we celebrate in some way your life and all your gifts. Thank you so much for coming with us today.
It was my pleasure. And all you got to do to me is mention Harry Chapin and occasionally Ken Kragen, and I'll be there.
Ken Kragen, what can we say? What a great career you've had, what stories you tell, and thank you so much for being with us today on this 75th anniversary of Harry's birth. Thank you.
Well, Harry's legacy lives on, and Harry's impart in terms of my life live on. I was in a meeting yesterday on another big project that could have impact in bringing people together, which is so important in this country right now. So, he inspires me every day.
And I think he demands that in these times we all pull together as citizen activists. I mean, I can't imagine another time where that's more necessary. Can you?
No, to quote Harry, when in doubt.
This guy.
I was just quoting Harry Chapin to say, when in doubt, do something.
Well, you've done it throughout your entire lives, and today an extension of all that. Thank you both for coming by on this Facebook Live event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now going to remind you that the Harry Belafonte, of course, is very much involved in this tribute to Harry Chapin that took place 1987 at Carnegie Hall. And we've got a tribute pack that we want to make available to you today. It's our way of thanking you for becoming involved today in our effort to match that $5,000 gift and to keep giving to the Harry Chapin Foundation and all the good works that have been spawned by Harry Chapin. As we said at the beginning of this opportunity today, he was involved in countless numbers of charitable good works and just remarkable life that he lived. And we can all live our own remarkable lives in some way. So today, $75 tribute gift pack at betterplacetobe.org. In it is a fan pack, a photo book, news clippings, backstage pass, and you are going to love the music, the sounds, and the sights of this Harry Chapin tribute with people like Richie Havens, Bruce Springsteen, the Hooters, Pat Benatar. It's a remarkable collection. And then, of course, there are performances of Harry involved in that as well. And then, if you want to have your own replica, I think what Ken Kragen showed us today was quite impressive, sitting behind him. But the Congressional Medal, a replica of the nation's highest civilian honor, honoring Harry's humanitarian work. So that all put together for you and sent out with many thanks from the Harry Chapin Foundation. So I've got to say that it's been a joy for me the last 4.5 hours to really help to inaugurate and launch this effort today. And it is a Herculean effort. And I can't thank Mike Grayeb enough. He has done such a truly magnificent job. And this is risky. This is not for the faint of heart. But then again, all the work that Harry did was risky and not for the faint of heart. And he always stayed with it. And Mike is going to stay with it until about 5:30 today. Bill Horning is going to be coming in to take the role of host. And he has been with us doing all kinds of things to support this effort today. And Bill, you're a member of the board of the Harry Chapin Foundation. Your commitment is unyielding and unrelenting, and you are tireless in that. But I cannot imagine, you've been up since about 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's Pacific time, and you're ready to go till about 5 today, Eastern time. You deserve some kind of medal, not the Congressional Medal, but
well, we could kick off the afternoon any better than what we just experienced here in the last few minutes with Mr. Belafonte and Ken Kragen. It just really re-energizes me. So, the hours don't make a whole lot of difference after a while. It's just so much fun and inspiring. I'm just so inspired after that last segment. And thank you for doing all that you did on this.
Well, I'm looking forward to see you with a full beard by 5 o'clock. So I'm looking forward to thank you. And working with you throughout, because there's a lot of testing, folks, a lot of modeling, a lot of beta site work that's been done. And so this is not something that was done cavalierly. This was done with a lot of intent. And Bill, next. And Bill, take it from here.
Yeah, well, some great friends of mine are coming up next from the Harry Chapin Food Bank in Southwest Florida. So that'll be coming up here in just a few minutes. We're going to take a little bit break to kind of get things reset. And hopefully everybody joins us right back here in the next 10 minutes or so.
I'd like to know what technology Mike is using for the software.
Wow, that was
Mr. Belafonte, everybody in the room.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Glad to have been a part of this.
What kind of software are you using to control this?